You're walking through a crowded train station when someone collapses 10 feet ahead of you. 40 people pass within seconds. Nobody stops. You tell yourself you'd be different. The strange truth is that you probably wouldn't, and it has almost nothing to do with how much you care. In 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in New York. Newspaper reports claim dozens of neighbors heard her cries and did nothing. The exact numbers in that original story were later disputed, but the case caught the attention of two psychologists who wanted to understand something darker than cruelty. They didn't believe the witnesses were monsters. They suspected something more unsettling, a kind of ordinary human malfunction that could happen to anyone, including you. Why do good people freeze when someone needs help? John Darley and Bibb Latané ran a series of experiments to test it directly. They placed people in a room, alone or with strangers, then staged an emergency. Smoke filled the room through a vent. Someone in another room appeared to be having a seizure, audible only through an intercom. The question was simple. Would people react faster alone or as part of a group? Notice that the variable being tested wasn't kindness. It was head count. Every person in that study was capable of helping. Every person presumably wanted to. The only thing that changed between conditions was how many other people they believed were also listening. The results were almost backwards from what you'd expect. When people thought they were the only one who could hear the emergency, the vast majority acted within seconds. When they believed other people were also present, far fewer responded at all, and the ones who did took much longer. More witnesses didn't mean more help, it meant less. Darley and Latané called this diffusion of responsibility. In a crowd, the weight of doing something doesn't disappear. It gets split into smaller and smaller pieces until each individual piece feels light enough to ignore. You assume someone else will check on the person who fell, someone else will call for help, someone else, more qualified, more confident, more willing, is already handling it. Everyone assumes this at once, and so nobody moves. There's a second mechanism working alongside it, one with nothing to do with laziness or apathy. It's called social proof. When an event is ambiguous, when you can't immediately tell if it's a real emergency or nothing at all, you look to the people around you for a cue. If they look calm, you relax. If they look alarmed, you react. The trouble starts when everyone does the exact same thing at the exact same moment. Each person scanning the crowd for a signal that never comes, because everyone else is just as frozen, just as uncertain, just as busy reading you. This is why a person collapsing on an empty street tends to get help quickly, while the same person collapsing in a packed station can go unnoticed for minutes. It isn't that crowds are colder, it's that crowds are louder with confusing signals, and your brain, built to read a room before acting, reads exactly the wrong thing. The very instinct that usually keeps you safe in social situations becomes the thing that keeps you frozen in an emergency. Psychologists later mapped this out as a 5-step decision process. You have to notice the event. You have to interpret it as an emergency. You have to feel personal responsibility for acting. You have to believe you know how to help. And only then do you actually decide to act. A failure at any single step stops the entire chain, and a crowd makes failure more likely at almost every step along the way. Here's the part that should change how you move through the world. Once you understand the mechanism, you can interrupt it in yourself and in everyone around you. Researchers found that directly addressing one person by looking at them and naming what's happening breaks the diffusion almost instantly. Saying, "You," in the blue jacket, call an ambulance, assigns the responsibility to a single specific person instead of letting it dissolve into the crowd. The freeze isn't permanent. It's just waiting for someone to name it out loud. So the next time you're in a crowd and something feels wrong, remember what's actually happening in the silence around you. It isn't indifference. It's 40 people running the exact same calculation at the exact same time, each one waiting for someone else to move first. You don't have to be the bravest person in the room. You just have to be the first one willing to break the math. The next time you're the one who collapses or watches someone else, you'll know exactly which silence to break first.